Alright people, it's Andre. I'm back with another video, and in this video I want to explain more about the difference between the dark and the shadow. So anyway, as I said in my past videos that how all of existence came to be is that it comes out of the dark. The dark, D-A-R-K, or black, or the void, the other terms he's known as, or Yahweh, or the source, or the mill. Yep, which all mills are an extension from. So anyway, now remember, so the dark is the source of everything, where all things come out of. Yeah, it's the starting. It's beyond the starting point. It's where the starting point came out of, which is the self-awareness counterpart of the dark, the shadow. The shadow is also called the starting point, since she's the self-awareness counterpart to the dark. Yep, the dark is male, the shadow is female. Now I want people to listen very carefully. Alright. When you hear about good and evil, I want you to know the real definitions. So, good is also called the light. And shadow is called the evil. The dark is beyond good and evil. So, I want people to understand that. Most people confuse the dark with the shadow. The dark is beyond good and evil, and what creates the rules of everything. So, don't confuse the dark with the shadow, But I understand why most people would confuse the two, because the shadow looks like the dark. She's literally the self-awareness embodiment of the dark, so she don't have a real body, really. I mean, she don't really have a look to her. But if you were to give her a look, you can call her a shadow. Shadow. I mean, I say shadow is gray, but it depends. It's a gray color gray, but not really. I mean, because she don't really have a body. She looks like the dark. So, but if I were to give her a color, I'll color her gray. But anyway, the point is, let me see. Oh yeah, I want to raise awareness in this video about the reality that everything is made up of. Now, if you look at, I'm gonna talk about the shadow. Now, you know how everything casts a shadow, right? Now remember, everything is in the order that came into existence. The order that things came into existence. You would notice that same order if you look around you. The reality of everything. For example, you notice how the shadow of everything, how everything casts a shadow. Notice how the shadow's behind everything. When you look at the order it came into existence, like when you look at the trees, look at the shadow, or the trees are called shade. Or when you look into the jungle, you see how it's all shadowy in there. And then when we look at objects, notice how the shadow is always behind, existence. Like the objects, that because the shadow, according to the order how things came into existence, the shadow came first, and then after shadow came light, and then after light came wisdom. Now remember, wisdom, the sister of the light, the goddess wisdom, she's the shaper of reality. She's where all shapes and forms come from. She's actually how shape and forms of things are created. By getting with the light or the dark, or the male counterparts. When the male creates through her, that's how things of shape come into being. She's literally the shaper of reality. Where all distinction, all illusions of reality, the illusions of the five senses, how they seem to be different, but they're really just one sense. She's what causes the distinction of everything. The separation, how it seems, shape and form. So yeah. So wisdom is in front of the light because she came into existence after the light. So it's all about the order that came into existence. So wisdom's in front of the light, which is why you see, when you look at reality, you see the shape and form of everything. You see the trees, you can see the distinction of everything. The cars, the plants, life, people. You can see the shapes and the differences between everything. You know what I'm saying? Now, get this too. Now notice how when you see the shape of everything, what everything has in common. All reality is the main ingredient of all reality. When it comes to the incarnations, is pure light. Now light is behind wisdom. Because of the order they came into existence. Remember that. So light is behind wisdom. So the shape of everything is wisdom, and then the light is also called the light of life, light of creation. So if wisdom was taken out of existence, then everything would turn white, pure white light. Yeah, because the wisdom, the light created through is what caused the distinction of everything. So if you take wisdom away, then everything would become white light. And then you take the white light away, then it will just be the shadow, which is called. But the shadow looks like the dark, so it will just look like the dark. But the shadow is the self-awareness of the dark. Understand? And then the dark is the pure nothing, void, the one beyond the thought. You know, the ego, the wisdom. So yeah. So I just wanted to explain that in this video. The dark, the shadow, the dark is before the beginning. The shadow came first from the dark, which is the beginning, and then the light came second. And because the dark and the shadow are the parents of the light and wisdom, the light's also called the firstborn son of creation, because the mother of the light is shadow and the father of the light is dark. And wisdom is the little sister of the light. She was born second. So anyway, first dark, shadow, light, wisdom in that order. So that's the order that everything came into existence. And yeah, so if you were to take wisdom away, then everything will lose its form and just merge back in with the light. It will just be pure light, like pure white, yeah. And then if light disappears, everything would turn black. Which, remember, you can't tell the difference between shadow and wisdom, because they look the same. So anyway, but the shadow is the self-awareness of the dark. The dark, the self-awareness came first in existence. So basically, the dark was simply pure nothing, and then he just realized himself. And that's how the shadow counterpart was born, the female counterpart was born. Also known as chaos, or the necessary evil, or the universal ego, or the universal emotion, the second mind, or Lucifer. That's why she's called the light bearer and wisdom bearer, because she had the light and wisdom, you know, from beginning with the dark, you know, the children, the light and wisdom. Yeah, which she got when the dark created her as a portal. So yeah. Anyway, that's why she's called Lucifer, the light bringer, light bearer. So anyway, I just wanted to bring more light, you know, more awareness in that. Remember, and the light's also called the thought. It's where our thoughts are based off, the thought of the creator. So wisdom is called the imagination of the creator, the ability to imaginate, you know, shape and forms, distinctions. So yeah. So pretty much, like for example, like the firmament and earth shape formed really because the water Mel got with wisdom. See, whatever Mel gets with wisdom, the shape of something will come into being, basically. So anyway, yeah, because light created you shadow. Because see, this is how things came into being. So listen carefully, and notice how wisdom is why everything has a shape. You ready? Okay. The dark, you know, eternity himself, and then all of a sudden he realized himself, and then that realization created the shadow counterpart. You know, and then he created through the shadow, then came light. And then he created through the shadow again. Then came wisdom. And then, yeah. So notice how dark is omnipresent and has no shape or form. Shadow is the self-awareness of the dark, but yet the self-awareness is invisible to us. So therefore, it looks like the dark. But it's really the self-awareness counterpart. But we can't see the self-awareness counterpart, so it appears to be the dark. But it's not, it's the shadow. Now, the dark created you, the shadow, and what came into existence next was light. Yeah. Now, notice how light is called, it's illuminating. Light has no shape. It's just pure illumination. And then after light was born, wisdom was born. The moment wisdom was born, the light created you, the wisdom, as a portal. And that's where the first shapes came from. The heavenly beings, gods, goddesses, male and female angels, male and female animals, male and female spirits of the heavens. And all the heavens, you know what I'm saying? And then light created your shadow, and that's where water that we drink was born. But notice how when water is male as well, male entity. Notice when water got with wisdom, then the shape of the firmament and the earth came into being. Ain't that something? And then the dark at some point got with wisdom as well. You know, created your wisdom as a portal. And then came that's why the sun, moon, and stars was born. Exactly. Wisdom is literally the shaper of reality, well, you know, the ability to imagine. So, while the dark is the void, and the shadow is the self-awareness of the void, the light is the thought, you know, or the word. What else is he known as? The good, the law, you know, the firstborn of creation, the light of life, yeah. And the wisdom is the shaper of that life, the light of life. And she also, because she got with water too, the male water, that's why the shaper of the earth and the firmament came into being, which is made out of the combination of water creating the wisdom. Because the firmament and the earth are the children of the water and the wisdom. Yep, so anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about in this video, okay? Peace.